Of course. Here's part 1 expanded to approximately 2,000 human words, rich in emotion and detail, written in English without any headings. Claire Whitmore had always known how to make an entrance. She wasn't just beautiful, she was striking, magnetic. With her icy blonde hair, slate blue eyes, and the kind of posture that came from generations of wealth and old money etiquette, she carried herself like someone who belonged in the glossy pages of society magazines. She had been in them, in fact, many times, draped in designer gowns at fundraisers, launching youth initiatives in partnership with her father's luxury hotel brand, cutting ribbons with mayors and CEOs. But nothing had shocked Charleston high society more than the day she announced she was marrying a man named Daniel Carter. Daniel, a disabled black man who used a wheelchair, was a high school music teacher from a modest neighborhood, with no interest in money or fame. In every visible way, he was the opposite of the man people had expected her to marry. But Claire never cared about appearances, not the way people thought. Because when she looked at Daniel, she didn't see what the rest of the world fixated on. She didn't see a wheelchair. She didn't see race. She saw warmth, grace, a soul full of music and a heart that had been wounded but never hardened. They had met on a Tuesday in May, outside a worn-down community center on the edge of the city. Her car had stalled in the middle of a rainstorm. The streets were flooding fast, and her phone was dead. She had no umbrella, no coat, and she was more annoyed than worried, until she realized she was in a part of town she'd never driven through before. That's when she saw him, rolling toward her through the rain, wearing a green hoodie and pushing through puddles like a ship through waves. "Need help?" he had asked with a grin, his voice deep and rich, like velvet dipped in honey. She blinked, stunned by the absurdity of it all. "You're in a wheelchair," she had said, then instantly regretted it. He laughed, full and loud. "Rain doesn't discriminate. Neither do dead batteries. Now, do you want me to help or not?" She nodded, embarrassed but intrigued. He pulled his phone from a plastic cover, called a tow truck with practiced efficiency, and then, as they waited, sang a few bars of "Fly Me to the Moon." She hadn't expected that voice, smooth, effortless, like he was born with a microphone in his hand. It was clear he didn't sing for attention. He sang because he loved it. Because it was part of him. They talked for nearly an hour that day, and when the tow truck arrived, she was disappointed. She gave him her number without even thinking about it. A week later, he invited her to watch a student jazz performance at his school. She went, and left more impressed than she'd been by any gala she'd ever attended. His students adored him. His colleagues respected him. He moved through the halls with humor and command, wheeling in and out of classrooms like a king with his own kind of crown. Their connection deepened over shared late-night talks, long drives to hidden parks, and endless conversations about music, faith, pain, and perseverance. He never asked her for anything, not favors, not money, not introductions. He never even Googled her, he claimed. "You're not your family," he'd said one night as they sat by the harbor. "You're you. And you, Claire Whitmore, are a wonder." She hadn't cried in years, not since her older brother died in a plane crash, but that night, she did. The backlash started when the photos hit social media. Someone had taken pictures of them holding hands at a jazz festival. Within hours, gossip blogs lit up. Heiress Claire Whitmore dating mystery man in wheelchair. Socialite swaps. Billionaire suitors for teacher from the other side of town. The comments were worse than the headlines. Her mother invited her to lunch at the Whitmore estate. It was less of a conversation and more of an intervention. "Claire, darling," her mother had begun, stirring her tea like she was trying to smooth out her emotions. "You're going through a phase. We all do. I once dated a poet. But you must understand, your choices reflect on us. On the family. You can't be serious about this man." Claire had folded her hands, stared her mother down with a look as icy as her gaze. "His name is Daniel. And yes, I'm serious. I love him." Her father was less diplomatic. He threatened to revoke her trust fund, her position on the hotel board. He said she was embarrassing the family, throwing away her future. She walked out without looking back. Her friends, well, most of them disappeared. Some claimed they were concerned or worried about her mental state. Others just stopped returning calls. But Daniel never faltered. He told her he understood. That the world had always made it clear to him that he didn't belong in certain places. That being black and disabled often meant being invisible. Or worse, pitied. But not by her. Never by her. "I don't want to be your rebellion," he had said one night, as they sat beneath her favorite tree in the park. "I want to be your choice." She looked at him, tears threatening again. "You are my only choice." When they decided to marry, they kept the ceremony small. Just 20 people. A quiet lakeside gathering in late spring. Her dress was ivory and lace, simple but elegant, with a long veil that danced in the breeze. Daniel wore a tailored navy suit with a hand-tied bow tie and a single rose pinned to his lapel. As she walked down the aisle, the sun cast golden light through the trees, and the water shimmered like a mirror to the sky. Daniel's face crumpled with emotion. He wiped his eyes but didn't look away. Not once. Their vows weren't rehearsed or perfect. They were raw, honest. "I don't know what tomorrow will bring," Claire said, voice trembling. "But I know I want to face it with you. With your courage, your wisdom, your heart. I vow to stand beside you, in every sense of the word." Daniel took a shaky breath before he spoke. "You saw me before I saw myself again. You remind me that I'm not broken, just different. You gave me back dreams I'd buried. I vow to never let you forget the force of your own light." When they kissed, the lake rippled gently as if nature itself gave them a blessing. But the true surprise of the day didn't come from the sky or the scenery. It waited for them in the bridal suite. They arrived at a private lakeside cabin that night, away from photographers and gossip, away from opinions and noise. Claire lit a few candles. The air was still. She sat beside him on the edge of the bed and looked into his eyes, sensing something. He seemed calm but almost excited. "There's something I haven't told you," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Her heart skipped. "About what?" Daniel reached for her hand. Held it. "You've always accepted me the way I am. You never asked for more than I could give. But I want to give you something tonight." She tilted her head, unsure what he meant. And then, slowly, he pushed himself up from the wheelchair. Claire froze. He wobbled slightly, using his arms for support. His legs moved, unsteadily, trembling, but they moved. One foot forward, then another. He stood tall. Not perfectly, not easily, but undeniably on his own 2 feet. Claire gasped, hand to her chest. Her knees nearly buckled. "Daniel," she whispered, "you're walking." He nodded, tears filling his eyes. "Not far, not fast, but I've been working with a specialist for months. Every night after school, every weekend. I didn't want to say anything in case it didn't last. In case I failed. But I wanted this moment. I wanted you to see me like this on the night we started our life together." She ran to him, arms wrapping around his waist, head buried in his chest. She didn't care about the science, the odds, the timeline. She didn't care if he never took another step again. In that moment, she saw a man who defied expectations, not to prove something to the world, but to gift her the most beautiful, powerful truth of all. Hope. Love wasn't about perfection. It was about showing up, even when it hurt. Especially when it hurt. And standing, even if it took everything you had. As the night wrapped around them, and the stars blinked awake above, Claire rested her head on Daniel's shoulder and whispered, "Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." Daniel smiled and held her tighter than ever. They were just getting started. Of course. Here's part 2 expanded to approximately 2,000 human words, continuing seamlessly from part 1, written in the same emotionally rich, natural storytelling style, without any headings. The morning after their wedding was quiet, painted in gold and lavender as sunlight filtered through the linen curtains of their cabin. Claire lay still, eyes half open, watching Daniel breathe beside her. It didn't feel real yet, that this man was now her husband. Her partner. Her family. Daniel stirred, eyes fluttering open. He turned his head toward her, a sleepy smile spreading across his face. "Good morning, Mrs. Carter." She laughed softly. "Say that again, Mrs. Carter," he repeated, voice low and warm, like a melody. "You okay?" Claire nodded, then reached for his hand. "I'm more than okay. I'm overwhelmed." He raised an eyebrow. "Too much?" "No," she whispered. "Just everything I never knew I wanted." They stayed in bed until noon, talking about the ceremony, the way his niece had thrown petals in the wrong direction, how her cousin tripped on the way to give a toast, how the lake had glistened like a blessing as they said their vows. Everything had felt so perfect, and for once, no one's opinions mattered. Not the tabloids, not the whispers, not even her family's disapproval. Daniel, true to his word, walked a few more steps in the cabin, leaning against furniture for balance. Claire was speechless every time he moved. It wasn't just about walking, it was about his quiet defiance of limits. It was his willpower refusing to be caged. They stayed in the cabin for 2 days, soaking in the silence. No phones, no emails, no news. Just fireflies at night, soft jazz on a vintage record player, and the scent of pinewood and rosemary. Claire cooked once, burnt pasta, and Daniel teased her for it mercilessly. When they returned to Charleston, the world was waiting. Their wedding photos, which a friend had shared privately, had gone viral. The image of Daniel standing to kiss Claire had captured people's attention. Some called it a miracle. Others accused them of faking it for fame. Claire's parents didn't attend the wedding, but they'd certainly seen the coverage. Her father sent a letter, not an apology, but a warning. Her trust fund was frozen until further notice. Her office at the hotel,